Let's just say they have all my information. Why should I care? Ooh. So why did I delete the TEMU app? And why did I decide against any further TEMU sponsorships? You want to know. And I wasn't going to share this, but you know what? I think you guys know me by now. I'm pretty transparent. I try to be open and honest and straightforward. What you see is pretty much what you get. She's a little kooky every now and then, but one thing you can't say about me is I am not dishonest. And I will always tell you the truth, right? And also because I know so many of you trust me on this platform that I felt that, you know, it was important to share. So by now everybody knows what TEMU is. TEMU is a marketplace, online marketplace that has taken over, okay? Taken over the world, so to speak. And in the US, it is the second most popular or most downloaded app in the United States besides Amazon, right? You know that you can get inexpensive products, very inexpensive products on TEMU. And to be honest, I have been somewhat of a fan, you know, distantly a fan. I've made several videos about TEMU, TEMU hauls, and pretty much all of them except one have been not sponsored, meaning that I paid for the products all myself. So I was not working with TEMU. I was simply doing it for fun. I found their products hilarious. You guys seem to like the reviews. So a lot of it became just about me entertaining you. It wasn't so much about the products. It was really just about me entertaining you. You guys love to see these clothing hauls. You love to see Kenton try on clothes that he doesn't like. And we just had a lot of fun with it. And as you recall, in my first video, I was very skeptical about TEMU. You know, I'd seen all the reviews like all of you. I'd seen all the things in the media. You know, there were a lot of complaints to the Better Business Bureau. Most of the complaints were usually in the beginning, most of those complaints were about people not getting their products on time, you know, things being shipped late, products not looking like the pictures advertised, products just not meeting expectations. And I think some of those complaints are definitely valid, but I also know, especially in the United States, I believe that most American consumers are spoilt somewhat because we're used to things like, you know, programs like Amazon, where if you want something today, you're gonna get it today if you spend enough, or if you want it tomorrow, realistically, you can get it tomorrow. And with TEMU, it's not necessarily like that, right? It usually takes about 10 to 12 days, typically, for you to get your products. So that has taken getting used to for most people. What's the point? Why did I delete the app, and why am I deciding or have decided to no longer do sponsorships with TEMU? I need to break it down into two different points or two different areas. I'm going to discuss me as a consumer, meaning me as just a regular person, just like you as a consumer. And then there is me, the content creator, because my issues are two different things. Let's start with as a content creator. So as you already know, I am a physician first, or a doctor first, and then I am also a content creator. So being honest is very important to me. My reputation is very important to me. And no matter what, I always try to tell you what I see as it is. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. And as I mentioned in my first video, TEMU representatives were reaching out to me frequently, asking me, you know, to join their programs or to be sponsored. And I always kind of thought, no, I don't want to do it. I'm not interested. And then finally, I agreed, right? Finally, I agreed to work with them. Basically to produce a sponsored video. And what that means is they will allow you to select products, and typically in this case, about $200 worth of products. Just giving you an inside view. Yeah, about $200 or up to $200 worth of products. And then you make a video promoting these products, right? I mean, they don't tell you what to say, but of course, there is this underlying human nature that you're going to want to make it look a lot more positive or a lot more desirable. At least this is what I see with a lot of content creators. So you are, again, allowed $200 worth of product, and then you make a video. However, you are given somewhat of a timeline to make this video, and you're also given links that you need to put into the video. And you are given a few speaking points that directly relate to TEMU, you know, such as promoting the app, such as promoting the links, making sure people try to click on those links, because obviously they're trying to direct traffic or subscribers in this case, or viewers to the TEMU site, right? So that's the requirement. And in addition to that, in my case, I don't know about other content creators, but in my case, we negotiated a price. So at this point in my YouTube or content creator career, I've decided that I no longer wish to just take product as a form of payment, because there are a lot of companies out there, especially when you are smaller, or when they think your numbers are smaller, or especially when, I hate to say it, when you're black or a person of color, they don't want to pay you, okay? So part of what I negotiated was a payment. You pay me and I make this video for you, right? And there was a back and forth, and we came upon a particular price, and I felt like it was a decent amount of money. I was satisfied with the amount of money that we agreed upon. Doing a lot of these smaller companies can't afford to pay you, but the truth is, I cannot pay my bills with just products, right? Just sending me things is not going to pay my bills. And I personally am not interested in little trinkets or cheap goods as a form of payment. Like, what am I? No. So anyway, I digress. I was getting paid for that video as long as I promoted links, as long as I promoted the app, and as long as I made good content. So out of all the videos that you saw online, one of them was sponsored. One of them was sponsored. Everything else I paid for myself because I was having fun and I chose to do it, right? They were promoting their anniversary event in September, 1 year of TEMU being in existence as we know it. And so there was a timeline where they wanted to get a certain amount of videos done, you know, during that time, because they're trying to promote TEMU, and of course they're celebrating their 1 year anniversary. So after the first video that I did, which it took so long for the products honestly to get to me, it took a longer time than I expected. So by the time I was ready for the second video, potentially, you know, I was running out of time, because I was thinking, hey, look, you guys, you've got a certain time frame that you want these videos done, and I haven't gotten an opportunity to pick the next set of items that I'm going to, you know, be working with. So I reached out to the marketing person in TEMU, and they never got back to me, or it seemed like they never got back to me. Finally, someone gets back to me, the person that I was dealing with, and she asked that I start putting links, asked if I can start putting links on my other videos. So basically, if I can put all the TEMU links, promoting TEMU to my other videos that I had done. And I was like, somehow that does not seem honest or appropriate. First of all, we have not negotiated any new terms. That is not part of the contract. Any videos that I had done previously, again, were not sponsored. They were paid for out of my pocket. So it does not seem reasonable or fair that you now want to have me promote them as if they were, you know, sponsored by TEMU. So And to give you an example or to illustrate this further, how, why this doesn't make sense, it's kind of like, let's say you wrote a book, you write a book or you create a product, and then this other company comes and says, hey, can we put our name on that product that you created? And you start promoting it and sending people to our business. Like, you wouldn't feel comfortable with that. You would feel like, well, that's not fair. Are you guys gonna pay me extra to do this? No, they're not going to pay me extra to do this. They have not negotiated anything. And on top of that, to be honest, the point is I felt like it was dishonest, because I have told my audience, I have told you that those videos were not sponsored. I was not working with TEMU. So now I come back and I start putting TEMU app or TEMU sites or links on all my past videos, just because I had shown TEMU products. That just doesn't seem honest or fair. A Nigerian way to say it is, they must think I look like Mumu. They must think I must be Mumu, a big dummy, basically. No, I'm not a dummy, and I will not be used. And I felt like I was being extracted, like you're trying to extract something from me that just doesn't seem fair. So basically, I told them that I would not be doing that. And then the other thing too was they started to promote this new program, this new affiliate program. Basically, for those who don't understand, I think TEMU had decided that they were no longer going to pay content creators, or at least the people like me. They were no longer going to pay us. Instead, they're trying to promote a new program, which is basically just giving you product. You get product mailed to you or sent to you, and you make videos. That's just not good enough for me. I'm not interested in a whole bunch of products. That's not what we negotiated. So I basically said I was not interested. So the fact that I told them, I guess someone would say brazenly told them, that I was not interested, or I would not put those links on my previous video, and I was not interested in any future new program they had to offer, they said, well, we're sorry, we can no longer work with you. So that was that, basically. And so it was kind of mutual. I wasn't willing to do what they had asked me to do after the fact, and they were basically like, okay, we're no longer willing to work with you. Let's just keep in touch. And that was it. So I was like, boom, I'm done. There are tons of other businesses out there or other brands out there to work with anyway. And as we head into the holidays, if you've seen my content before, as much as I like to promote budget items, which is cool, and I will still promote budget items, I also enjoy luxury goods, right? So I never wanted my channel or our channel to be just about TEMU. It was actually kind of a mistake, to be honest, because I was making videos, or have been making videos for years, and then here comes TEMU knocking on my door, so to speak. Can we work with you? Can we work with you? I mean, I think I showed you in my first video the tons of emails I was getting, and I'm sure so are other content creators. I'm not knocking any other content creator who wants to continue working with TEMU. Good for you. If you enjoy just getting product as a form of payment, good for you. But for me, it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. And I don't like people directing me or telling me what to do or how to do it, especially when it does not sit well with my soul. So, or I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. I just can't do it. So that's it from a content creator point of view. Now, from a consumer point of view, and I will also have Kenton come and, add a few points too, because I think Kenton can explain things better when it comes from a legal perspective or understanding the law here in US or how certain things work. But yeah, from a consumer perspective, the reason I deleted the TEMU app and got rid of you know, their ability to send me text messages, and also their ability to send me emails, was not because they did anything in particular wrong, or not because anything corrupt happened or bad happened, to be honest, but really mostly because I felt like it was getting too addictive. You know, it felt like I was just accessing the TEMU site literally every day, and I was like, whoa, this is getting too much. Again, I don't like feeling controlled by anything or anyone or any particular entity besides my husband and children and God. That's it. So for TEMU to have access to me every day like this, nonstop, it just felt too much. So that's why I deleted the app. Now, I do want to address the fact that, of course, I see the news. Of course, I see all the things that are also being said, you know, that are negative about TEMU in general. And to be honest, I felt like a lot of those things that were being directed specifically at TEMU could be said about a lot of those online marketplaces, whether it is Shein, whether it is Amazon, because what I noticed is that a lot of the vendors or a lot of the products that TEMU, you know, uses are also some of the same products and vendors used by Amazon. So for those that are, you know, keep pointing out, you know, the child labor laws and the risk of child labor, I'm like, are you thinking that too when you shop on Amazon? Are you thinking that too when you shop on Shein or some of these other foreign countries? Because you should be thinking about that, not just with TEMU, but with all these other companies or online businesses that some of us support. So that's how I feel about that. In the US, obviously, it is absolutely wrong for the US to do business with any company that uses children when it comes to labor. Do I know for a fact that TEMU is doing that? I don't know that for a fact. I absolutely don't know that for a fact. And if you look at a lot of the US news and a lot of the reports out there, if you pay attention to the language used, you will see that a lot of times it says that TEMU is at high risk. High risk. They haven't actually said that TEMU has stolen, you know, or used your data for anything maleficent, or has not used your data for anything bad yet. There is a high risk. And as a physician, when I hear high risk, what that means to me is that there is a high probability of something happening. It doesn't mean it has happened, but there is a higher chance it will happen. Okay, so I pay attention to language. I know also that there are a lot of smaller companies and people out there who perpetrate and pretend to be TEMU that are scamming people. I do know that for a fact. Is TEMU actually scamming us right now? I don't know that. TEMU has not scammed me. That's all I can tell you. TEMU has not scammed me, and God forbid, I hope it never does scam you or anybody I know or anybody, period. But I will say that high risk means that, yes, you should be concerned. You should be concerned. I have never shopped with a credit card online when it comes to shopping with TEMU. I've always paid using PayPal. And so it's important to know what information you are giving. So in general, the US government is concerned that TEMU has access to so much of your information and that they may be using that information to spy on us. According to an expert, they believe that the reason for collecting this information is simply to boost TEMU sales. They want to be able to see what their competitors are buying, what you are buying, your sales habits, and basically to use it as a way to boost their sales or to increase, you know, the type of products that they should sell. Now, whether they're going to use that information for anything else, I don't know. Again, I think the US is very concerned because China is a communist country, and that these products, these manufacturers, this business is tied to China, which happens to be a communist country. So again, has TEMU used your information for anything else other than marketing? I don't know that for a fact. I really don't. The way that they talk about it in the news is that there is a high risk. So again, high risk, in my opinion, does not mean that something actually is. If I tell you that you have a higher risk of getting cancer, or you have a high risk of developing diabetes, does not mean that you have diabetes, or does not mean that you have cancer. It means, there's a high chance if you keep doing what you're doing, you might develop these things, okay? Now, that's just my take on it. So for those of you that felt that you trust my judgment and you want to know, should you delete the app? My thing to you is, you gotta weigh the risk and the benefits. And right now, you know, at least if you're a US resident or a US citizen, the US believes that the risk outweighs the benefit when it comes to trying to get a bargain. The goods are already cheap. You don't need the app to get cheap goods. So will I personally continue to shop on TEMU? I am sure I will probably shop on TEMU. I am sure you will probably see another video with TEMU products in it, but I will not use the app. That's all I can tell you. I can't tell you what to do. All I can say is be safe, be vigilant, protect your data. The type of information that they collect is not that different than all the information that all the other apps collect. They're looking for your name, your address, your GPS sometimes. And some of this other information is information you allow that you can also block on your phone if you don't want them to have. You can change the settings if you want to. So some of the other things that I hear they collect, let me see, make sure I haven't forgotten everything. Yeah, your name, your address, your phone number, your birthday, your social media profile, your IP address, your GPS, which is your location, your browsing data, and a lot of these other information is information that you allowed. For example, your name, your address, that's information you gave them. You put that information in, and you do that with pretty much all the other apps. So what makes this different? Well, again, because this is China, a communist country. So I think that's the main issue that the government is concerned about. Is some of this negative feedback, or is some of this negative pushback that we're seeing also because TEMU is doing so well, or appears to be doing so well, and is competing with Amazon and competing with, like I said, companies like Shein? Because as you know, there's a lawsuit going on, or has been going on, between Shein and TEMU. And also there are a lot of American companies that do not like how influential, so to speak, TEMU has become in the American market. So you gotta wonder if that's why we're seeing all of this negative pushback. And I'm saying this because I'm trying to be balanced. I'm not here to, just attack TEMU. But I certainly understand that there are concerns, things that make you pause. I'm no longer going to do TEMU sponsored content. I've already told you. And basically, I think I'm the type of person that has so much more fun when I can create content organically and direct myself. I like when I'm free to say what I want to say and not feel constrained. Not to say that I won't work with brands again. In fact, I encourage brands to reach out to me, because there are many brands that I've actually worked with. If I like your product, I will go hard for you. I am a very creative person who puts 110% into my videos. You see that. I don't like to do anything half-ass. I put my all into it, into anything that I do. And so, yeah, if I like your product, hell, I will promote it. Promote. But in exchange, I just want you to be fair. I just want you to be fair and pay me my worth. I don't want to feel like I have to beg you to pay me, you know, to promote your product. No, I shouldn't have to do that, because it takes time and energy to make these videos. It takes time and energy to film a video, to think about what I'm going to say, to make it look professional, but at the same time, make it look fun and entertaining and organic. It takes work. Let me see what Kenton has to add to this. I'll ask him a few questions on your behalf. Hey people, so I got Kenton for you. My, what, I'm a little smelly?
No.
Oh, I was a little smelly the way you're looking at me.
No, this is the lights shining.
Okay, because it is kind of hot in here. I should turn on the AC, right? You sure I'm not smelly?
We're going to cut this out, right?
No. Take two. So Ken, what did you think, so Ken, what did you think, honestly, about me saying no to TEMU when, you know, they asked me to put the additional links on my previous videos? You know, because I did ask him, I did, of course, ask his opinion or consult with him as...
From an intellectual property perspective, what you create is what you own. So for all those you out there, if you're, you know, you create even in ways you think you don't create. So, right. You know, whether you create a presentation, a teaching spot, whatever, you own it. Unless, of course, you do it as part of your employment, then your employer owns it.
Right.
So, but when you do it for yourself or you're self-employed, that's you know, music, whatever creative that you do and you generate, you know, you own it. So when another entity decides to try to basically ride the coattails, as they say, and to basically take and extract benefit from your work that you've done outside of the original contractual relationship, right, an agreement, then that is basically you are rewriting the agreement. And sometimes that's what happens. So basically you engage in an agreement, and then they follow up or send either a note, an email, and they try to, what they call, add additional terms.
Right, which to some people may not be, you know, unreasonable. Like if you've been working with a brand before and you really like them, or, you know, you have a relationship,
but no,
maybe you, I can see some people thinking it's okay.
It's not about a reasonable. See, again, right. When you're dealing with, again, this is the thing, when you are a business,
right,
and this is any business, doesn't matter, and you work with in partnership and a collaboration with another business, another entity, you have an agreement, you stick to that agreement. If you start adding additional terms, additional requirements, additional asks, right, you then either incorporate that into the agreement, you agree to it, and then there has to then be either an acceptance of it, that the compensation or whatever is the bargain includes that, right. Or you then make an adjustment and say, oh, because you need additional things, the cost is going to go up, the expense is going up, whatever. I mean, just even think about it, just like you're getting your house painted. You have an agreement that's going to cost $500. Mm-hmm. If the painter comes back and say like, oh, and then you go to the painter and you say, oh, by the way, if you paint my house, I need you to paint my fence. And don't say anything else. You just send them an email. Can you also paint my fence? And if the person then obligate the painter to paint your fence? No. You're asking them to do something in addition to the original agreement, which was to paint the house for $500. Right. So why is it any different than for them? You agree to do something to produce a video, then they come back and they ask you then to start adding links to previously produced videos that weren't part of the agreement or in addition to. Right.
So the next thing I wanted him to touch on was the concern about child labor for all the people who, are concerned about the risk of child labor, or because that's what it says pretty much in the news, is like the high risk of child labor being used amongst the vendors or manufacturers that TEMU works with. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, the thoughts are that there's a risk of child labor throughout the world.
Right.
And so I think that's a valid concern, considering that there's evidence of that type, not particularly with TEMU, but in other industries within China, particularly in a specific province. So that's why there is such a valid concern. The thing is that the United States has very robust trade and legal process that prevents and actually penalizes child labor, and starts all the way from 1930, from the basically the Tariff Act, but recently in 2015 it was passed the Trade Facilitation and Trade Enforcement Act, and that gave much more power and investigative powers of the Custom Border Protection Agency. So basically what it is that it forbids and then penalizes any businesses that imports any product that has used child labor to produce.
Right.
The real challenge though is that that's fine, but it's like anything. That's if you know it. And so it's difficult when you have a society like China that's not open society. So basically it doesn't have freedom of the press. It doesn't allow investigative journalists. It doesn't have that kind of robust system that we really have here. In many ways it tries to get suppressed. But we do have like fair reporting acts and stuff. So we have much more investigative journalism.
Right.
So over there, it's very difficult to try to get it. So when those things are exposed, then they get shut down very quickly.
Right.
Here. But that's the thing, is trying to get that exposure to it, and so that's why the risk is higher.
Right. However, my thing was, again, playing devil's advocate, if you've got a problem with TEMU, shouldn't you have a problem with Amazon? Shouldn't you have a problem with all these companies that have vendors and manufacturers in China? Because a lot of products in the US come from China already.
Yeah, Apple.
Like, how come now this is a big problem when we've been bringing products from China all along?
Well, I mean,
and some of them are the same manufacturers.
Well, again, we have to be specific. I don't like to talk in broad generalities.
Right.
I think that there's a lot of different components into the issue, and so the thing is that, again, I think child labor is a risk for cross industries, clothing.
Right.
I mean, shoes. There's been issues of having child labor in regards to certain types of shoe production overseas.
Right.
And I think that's really where the concern is that it does exist. It is a problem. Is it a particular company's problem or not? Again, that's where we have to look at the evidence. And so that's what I'm saying. So is it a problem? Yes. We need to be nuanced. We need to do our research. The thing is with TEMU, again, is they're just like Amazon, you pointed out, they are a distributor. They're basically an intermediary from the manufacturer to the consumer. But still, under the U.S. law, basically, it's still trade. And so if they're importing from outside the United States, and there's a responsibility to do some due diligence, and once they become aware that child labor has been involved in the production, they cut off ties with that company. They cannot import or bring those products in.
Right.
So it's the same thing. TEMU has that responsibility as well, or to lose any type of ability to the U.S. market, and they can't afford that. The U.S. market is the largest market in the world. We are right now the engine that drives the world's markets right now.
Clearly they have not found sufficient evidence to say, to prove that TEMU is actually using child labor. That's why they keep saying high risk.
But they can't. But this is my point. That doesn't make sense, that statement, because they're not a manufacturer, so they can't use child labor. That doesn't make sense. It's like saying Amazon using child labor.
Right. Or that the vendors that they use.
That's different, and that they know of it. They have to be also aware of it. See, that's the other thing too. It's not. it's a little bit more than that. But once they become aware, then they need to demonstrate and show that they don't tolerate that type of behavior, and they don't support that illegal behavior. Okay, so or lose their access to U.S. markets. But again, the concern is there. So the thing is that as consumers, we should always double check, and that because our dollars, basically your money, not only as consumers, it's also a form of speech in the sense is that you are expressing the values. So if you're supporting companies that have basically are exploitive, extractive, then that's something you want to reconsider. Of course, I always say support domestic companies. United States. But again, many of our domestic companies are global, and they have vendors and manufacturers overseas. So because almost everything now, especially with even like the car and stuff, they're complex.
Right.
They have parts from all over.
Right.
No, the other subject is that again, when talking about privacy.
Right.
Okay, so
and then people's fears that their information is being collected.
Well, it is.
And what exactly? Well, that's what I said earlier.
But
your information is being collected, but is it being used for anything maleficent? Is that a word?
Malicious.
Malicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, malicious.
Yeah, malicious.
Or has it been used for anything malicious
but
yet?
See, well, okay, so I can kind of talk a little bit to this because also, having a risk management background and then also in privacy and so forth, but.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, it's a couple things. And so, again, when you talk about risk, you look at levels of risk and why something is riskier than something else. So, yeah, the baseline is that, look, all, if not the majority, if not all, of data companies with apps and stuff like that collect data.
Right.
Because that's either it's their main business or a significant side business is that data becomes packaged and then sold, aggregated and then sold to other parties or
and
shared with other
that's not
parties.
just TEMU, that's
most
these apps.
Well, Facebook does it. I mean, they all do it because it's also exchanged with advertisers, because they're looking as part of demographics. I mean, so it exists. The question is how much do you share and how much does it inform consent and so forth. The issue with TEMU is a couple of things though, because even still in the United States, even though we need to have a more robust, in my opinion, privacy laws, but it tends to be more porous. But there's still certain things that can't happen. So, like for example, one of the things is just that even data in your cell phone, like the government can't have access to that data unless it has a warrant. Same thing if the government is looking to get data even from a third party, like Facebook and so forth. They can't go on a fishing expedition and just say, hey, we want all the data for fiscal year 2023 on all your users.
Right.
Facebook is going to say, no, we're not going to give it to you unless you have a warrant or you can direct it, because again, here...
Or they've gotten in trouble for supposedly, like Facebook is the example.
No, but then that's
when
they get a warrant.
For doing
but then
that.
they have a warrant though. See, but see, just because you get in trouble, again, technically, what are you saying is that they get in trouble, but the trouble was because they were then, a complaint was filed against them, and then they had to have discovery, and they had a warrant to say, hey, you need to give us the information or show what it is. But that's a different issue. That's in regards to the complaint. But the whole point is that any type of data mining that comes out, that we have laws and regulations. The risk is that China does not. That's the problem. Even in Europe, which even has tighter privacy security rules, they're not as porous as the United States, but and they're partners with us. So even in there, even some of like Google and stuff have challenges over there because of data sharing, which in here we accept it as more acceptable. In Europe, they're much stricter. And consent has to be much more narrow. It's not as broad as it is here. But China didn't have those concerns because a significant number of companies over there are owned by the government. See, so you don't have this kind of these safeguards. That's why the risk is higher. Because one of the things is that under TEMU's agreement is that they can share information with subsidiaries and other affiliates, but the other affiliates are owned by the government. So the government uses their affiliates to then pull the data over. So there's no wall there to stop that. That's one of the other concerns. The other thing too is that TEMU does have a history because TEMU had a sister app that did collect data and was giving it to the government. But this app was over in China.
Right.
But the whole point is that if you can do it in China, what stops you from doing it here? Okay.
Now, here's my question. So the government's concern, or the U.S. government's concern about the whole security and, you know, as an individual, is there any risk that just because your information is collected, how does that really impact you? Or is this more of a concern for the government as a whole? Meaning that, you know, again, me, Habiba, let's just say they have all my information. Why should I care? You know, I'm living my life. What does it matter to me that the Chinese government has my information? Or is it more, again, as a collective concern or a problem, you know, that they have all of our information, you know, as Americans in general?
Well, again, I can't speak to, you know, again, the government, so because then it's speculative. But of course, the U.S. government's, you know, our government is to protect the interests of our country and of its citizens. So that is what is part of its mandate. That's what it exists. You know, government by the people and for the people. It's for the people, and it's by the people. And so our aggregate interests. So it may not affect you or someone in Montana who says, "Hey, what does it affect me?" But on an aggregate, it could affect someone, because if you're tracking the data, not just the usage, but financial data on an individual, and also even track it, because many ways you can also tell where they're buying it from, where it's shipping and stuff. If you can isolate the individuals, you can target individuals. So you can target individuals in the government, you can target individuals that are in the intelligence field, you know. So yeah, if you're just Joe Schmo nobody, but even still, but say you're Joe Schmo nobody, but say you decide that you're against child labor in China, okay, and you start donating money to child labor in China, and China is now upset, and is that this organization is making China look bad, because they're very sensitive about that, especially when they're trying to exert greater influence on the world stage. So they figure they're going to go ahead and start doing, with Autobots, a smear campaign against the individuals that supports this organization. And because they've been collecting data on who they find your name. And so guess what? Now they start putting stuff out in chat rooms and stuff, negative information about you. That's not necessarily true, but you know, you can just throw something bad about someone,
Right.
and it takes off.
Right.
So those are very targeted campaign.
Right.
You know, or you decide you're Joe Schmo, but all of a sudden, hey, wait a minute, you decide that you want to run for office because you want to make a difference. Now all of a sudden they want to target you, and you think, oh, these are just far-fetched, and it's not, because there are Chinese dissidents that have been fighting for equal rights or for freedom of speech, or freedom of press, and they have been targeted. And the only way they can target them is because, again, they know when they're traveling, when they're abroad, where they live. They also know your habits. It's amazing what these apps do. And another thing that you need to look at is a lot of these apps, when you do, they'll ask, can we have access to your content, contacts? That's the other thing. Because they're not just looking at you. They're looking at all your contacts. They're looking at your vertical as well as horizontal level of touches. So, and guess what? If you worked enough, you know, it's like 7 degrees of bacon. There's enough people that are connected to somebody that they do want, or they want to exert influence on. And so it gives them, again, information is highly vital, particularly in the world of espionage. And so you say, oh, I'm just nobody, but see, that's the thing. That's what they want you to believe. But as an aggregate, we are powerful together. But the one thing is, you crumble. That's why during the elections, you had a high level amount of these false attacks or false information being put out by foreign governments.
Right.
It's not so much about ourselves, because that's part of democracy, but you had a lot of false information. Well, how do you target that? Is that you take that information and then you see where people are looking.
Final point, should people continue to shop with TEMU, at least from your point of view?
You know, again, I think people should shop responsibly.
Right.
So I can only tell you me personally. See, this is the thing. Again, it's all personal. You know.
Right. I mean, my answer to that,
Is that-
you know,
yeah.
just so you know, was
Well, I don't want to.
I don't mind, you know, shopping on Temu.
I don't want you to shop anymore. Just stop shopping. How about that?
Yeah, just stop shopping.
Stop
period.
shopping, please.
No.
No.
You make it seem like I shop a lot. First of all, I don't.
I'm tired of these orange packages.
Stop it, Kenton. All right.
Orange
but no.
is the new black.
Ken, I'm trying to end this video. This video is getting too long. Yes, I do think it's okay to delete the app.
Yeah,
that does not seem like a content creator thing to say right now.
No, I think
but
so.
I think yes.
Yeah, I would. I mean,
I would delete the app
from a cybersecurity privacy perspective. If you don't really need the app, you can shop on a secure line, on a VPN, on your website. You know, you don't need the app because again, the thing is that app is always on. See, that's the other thing. Matter of fact, really, what I suggest is people go into their phones in the next 24, 40 hours. Go into stores, look in your apps, open them up, and look at the permissions. Go to the permissions and look at your apps. And really, it's an eye opener because you'll start seeing where apps are like they're on. Because the other thing too, you ever notice you're talking to a friend or a significant other about something, and next you know you're getting ads.
Right, about that subject, right.
Because something's on. So
right.
You got to think about it. Your browser history, all your histories, your search histories, what you're looking at. I'm telling you, and again, could be a subject of another video. But that's the point. Go into your apps, go into your storage, go into your permissions, look at your key apps, you know, and then see what's on. So that's all I got to say. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kenton. Appreciate you.
Stop shopping.
I can't stop shopping. Shopping is my job. It's part of my job.
Fair enough.
Especially for someone who, you know, has to be very selective about the content that I do that is sponsored. If it's sponsored and they are sending it to me, then I'm not paying for it. But if I am sharing something online with you that is not sponsored, then I have to buy it. That's how it works. Bye, folks. Hope that was helpful.